How deep do you think humans have actually managed to dig into our own planet? What's hiding underneath the ice sheets nobody has ever drilled through? There's a river in Peru hot enough to cook anything that falls into it. Not because of a nearby volcano, but because of heat rising up through a fault line most maps don't even show. There's a lake in Tanzania so caustic it can calcify the animals that die near it, turning them into stone-like statues almost overnight. And buried beneath the ice of Antarctica sits an entire mountain range the size of the Alps that most people have never even heard exists. This is 50 facts about planet Earth that even seasoned travelers and lifelong geography nerds mostly don't know. By the end, you'll probably start wondering what else is still hiding in plain sight. Let's get into it. We've mapped almost every inch of this planet from satellites, and it still hides things that sound completely made up. Rivers that boil, lakes that vanish on a schedule, landscapes that look like concept art for a different planet entirely. This is 50 of those places, real, documented, and mostly unknown outside a fairly small circle of scientists and very dedicated travelers. Let's start close to home, in places hiding in plain sight. What if some of the strangest places on Earth aren't hidden away at all? What if they've just been sitting in plain sight this whole time, waiting for someone to actually look? Fact 1. How deep have humans actually managed to dig into our own planet? In the 1970s, Soviet scientists drilled the deepest hole ever made, the Kola superdeep borehole, reaching over 12 kilometers down. And even that barely scratches the surface. That depth covers only about 1/5 of 1% of the distance to the Earth's actual center. Fact 2. Off the coast of Brazil sits Ilha de Queimada Grande, Snake Island, so densely packed with extremely venomous golden lancehead vipers that Brazilian law forbids ordinary people from setting foot on it. Fact 3. Some of the phosphorus that keeps the Amazon rainforest alive doesn't come from South America at all. It blows in on the wind from a dried-up lakebed in Chad called the Bodil Depression, one of the dustiest places on Earth, fertilizing a rainforest an entire ocean away. Fact 4. In Mauritania, the Rikhat structure, nicknamed the Eye of the Sahara, is a nearly perfect circular formation about 40 kilometers wide, clearly visible from space. For years, scientists debated whether it was an impact crater. It's now understood to be an eroded geological dome instead. Fact 5. Slovenia's Lake Cerknica isn't always a lake. Thanks to underground karst drainage, it fills and drains on a seasonal cycle. Some months it's a full lake, other months it's dry enough to farm. Fact 6. The Kalahari gets called a desert, but by strict definition, much of it doesn't actually qualify. Parts receive too much annual rainfall, technically making it more of a semi-arid savanna than a true desert. Fact 7. Can a lake actually just be pink? Permanently? Lake Hillier, on an island off Western Australia, is genuinely, consistently bubblegum pink. Even scooped into a bottle, the color doesn't fade. Scientists still debate the exact combination of algae, salt-loving microbes, and mineral concentration responsible for it. Fact 8. Beneath Antarctica's Taylor Glacier, a waterfall called Blood Falls oozes rust-red liquid, iron-rich brine that's been sealed beneath the ice for possibly over 1 million years, oxidizing into that unsettling color the moment it hits open air. Fact 9. Sailors have described a great milky sea for centuries. Vast, glowing patches of ocean stretching for miles, caused by bioluminescent bacteria. For most of history, it sounded like folklore. Satellite imagery has now confirmed some of these glowing regions are large enough to rival entire countries. Fact 10. What would it actually take for a river to boil? Deep in the Peruvian Amazon runs the Shuni Timpishka, literally, boiling with the heat of the sun. A river genuinely hot enough to cook animals that fall in. Locals had told stories about it for generations before a geologist finally documented it properly. No nearby volcano causes it. The heat rises up through a distant fault line, heating groundwater until it reaches the surface already steaming. What's actually underneath the ice, the ocean, and the rock we walk past every day? Some of the strangest places on Earth aren't hidden by distance at all. They're hidden underneath something else entirely. Fact 11. Beneath Antarctica's ice sheet sits the Gamburtsev Mountains, a range roughly the scale of the Alps, completely buried, that scientists only confirmed decades ago using radar. Nobody has ever seen them with their own eyes. Fact 12. Under roughly 4 kilometers of that same ice sits Lake Vostok, a freshwater lake sealed off from the outside world for possibly millions of years, until Russian scientists finally drilled into it in 2012. Fact 13. What happens to life when it's completely cut off from sunlight for 5.5 million years? In Romania, Muval Cave was sealed off from the surface world for exactly that long before its discovery in 1986. The species living inside evolved in total isolation, drawing energy from chemical reactions instead of the sun. Fact 14. In Nica, Mexico, the Cave of Crystals holds some of the largest natural crystals ever found. Selenite beams up to 12 meters long. The cave itself is so hot and humid, over 50 degrees Celsius with near total moisture saturation, that visitors need special cooling suits just to survive a short visit. Fact 15. Parts of Chile's Atacama Desert are so dry that some weather stations there have never recorded a single drop of rain in the entire history of measurement. Dry enough that NASA uses the landscape to test equipment meant for Mars. Fact 16. How do rocks move across a dry lake bed with nobody touching them? For decades, that's exactly what Death Valley's racetrack playa did. Heavy stones sliding on their own, leaving long trails behind with no footprints, no tire tracks, nothing. It wasn't until 2014 that researchers finally caught the real cause on camera. Thin sheets of overnight ice, nudged slowly across the surface by wind. Fact 17. In Alberta, Canada, Abraham Lake freezes into something that looks almost fake. Stacked columns of frozen white bubbles trapped beneath the ice, formed by methane gas rising from decomposing plant matter on the lake bed below. Fact 18. Ethiopia's Danakil Depression might be the single most extreme combined environment on Earth. Active volcanoes, blazing heat, and a landscape sitting over 100 meters below sea level, all in the same place at once. Fact 19. What kind of lake turns a dead animal to stone? Tanzania's Lake Natron is so caustic and alkaline that it can calcify animals that die in or near it, preserving their bodies in an eerie, statue-like state. Its striking blood-red color comes from salt-loving microorganisms that thrive in exactly the conditions almost nothing else can survive. Fact 20. Off the coast of Belize, the Great Blue Hole plunges more than 124 meters straight down. A massive underwater sinkhole formed during past ice ages, when sea levels were low enough for it to exist as a dry cave, long before the ocean swallowed it whole. Why do some places on Earth look like they don't belong here at all? A few don't even need a hidden backstory. They just look wrong the moment you see them. Fact 21. The island of Socotra, off the coast of Yemen, has spent so many millions of years geographically isolated that its plant life evolved into something nearly alien, including the dragon's blood tree, an umbrella-shaped tree found nowhere else on Earth. Fact 22. In Turkey, Pamukkale's brilliant white terrace pools were built by calcium-rich hot springs flowing downhill for thousands of years. The name literally translates to Cotton Castle, and from a distance, that's exactly what it looks like. Fact 23. What was hiding under Peru's ice this whole time? Rainbow Mountain, striped in vivid reds, golds, and greens from mineral deposits, stayed buried under snow for most of recorded history. It's only become visible and famous within the last decade or so, as the surrounding glaciers retreated and finally let the color show. Fact 24. In China, entire mountain ranges called Danxia landforms are naturally striped in red, orange, and yellow mineral layers deposited and eroded over millions of years into patterns that look almost painted on. Fact 25. The Zhangjiajie pillar forests, also in China, are made up of thousands of narrow sandstone columns, some rising more than 200 meters straight up. A landscape so surreal it directly inspired the floating mountains in the movie Avatar. Fact 26. Bolivia's Sala de Uyuni is the largest salt flat on Earth, and during the rainy season, a thin layer of water transforms it into what might be the largest natural mirror on the planet, reflecting the sky so perfectly it becomes almost impossible to tell where the ground ends and the horizon begins. Fact 27. British Columbia's Spotted Lake, known as Klillik to local First Nations, fills with mineral deposits so concentrated that as the water evaporates each summer, the lake breaks apart into hundreds of distinct, differently colored circular pools. Fact 28. What if a cave ceiling could look exactly like a night sky? In New Zealand, the roof of the Waitomo glowworm caves is covered in thousands of bioluminescent larvae, glowing blue-green in total darkness, turning solid rock into something that looks, unmistakably, like a sky full of stars, entirely underground. Fact 29. In Arizona, a sandstone formation called the Wave was carved by wind and water into flowing, layered patterns so dramatic that photographs of it are routinely mistaken for digital art. Fact 30. In Chilean Patagonia, the marble caves were carved not by wind, but by 6,000 years of lake water erosion, hollowing solid marble into swirling caverns of blue and white that shift color depending on the season and the water level. What if the strangest geography on Earth isn't really a place at all? Some of it is just how the planet itself is actually built, math and physics quietly disguised as scenery. Fact 31. Earth isn't a perfect sphere. It bulges slightly at the equator because of its own rotation, meaning the distance from the planet's center to sea level is measurably greater at the equator than it is at the poles. Fact 32. The longest mountain range on Earth isn't on any continent at all. The mid-ocean ridge stretches roughly 65,000 kilometers around the globe, almost entirely underwater, and largely unmapped compared to anything on land. Fact 33. Here's one worth sitting with. We've mapped more of the moon's surface in high detail than we have our own ocean floor, meaning there are more precise maps of an object 384,000 kilometers away than there are of something directly beneath our own oceans. Fact 34. Is New Zealand actually just the small, visible part of something much bigger? It is. It's the tip of an almost entirely submerged landmass called Zealandia, roughly 94% underwater, and only formally recognized by geologists as its own distinct continent within the last several years. Fact 35. Africa is slowly tearing itself in two. The East African Rift, running through countries like Ethiopia, Kenya, and Tanzania, is actively widening, and over millions of years, it will eventually split off an entirely new landmass with its own ocean in between. Fact 36. The ceremonial marker at the South Pole has to be physically relocated every single year. The ice sheet beneath it is constantly flowing, drifting roughly 10 meters annually, meaning the exact South Pole marker is really more of an educated, regularly updated guess. Fact 37. Somewhere in northwestern China lies the Eurasian Pole of Inaccessibility, the single point on the world's largest landmass that sits farthest from any ocean in every direction, a spot so remote it was historically difficult even to precisely locate. Fact 38. If you dug straight through the Earth from exactly where you're standing right now, where do you think you'd actually end up? Most people guess a specific country. In reality, most land on Earth doesn't have another landmass exactly opposite it at all. Dig straight through from almost any city, and odds are you'd come out in open ocean. Fact 39. Earth's true shape, if you strip away sea level and imagine only gravity, is called the geoid, and it's lumpier than most people assume, with real, measurable bumps and dips caused by uneven mass distribution deep inside the planet. Fact 40. Peru's Nazca lines are so massive and so precisely engineered that, for most of human history, nobody on the ground could actually recognize them as coherent images at all. Their true scale only became obvious once humans learned to fly. Can a town really ban death? Can a piece of land really belong to nobody at all? A few of the last facts on this list barely sound real, but every single one checks out. Fact 41. The Pitcairn Islands in the South Pacific are home to one of the smallest populations of any inhabited territory on Earth, often only around 50 people, most of them descendants of the crew of the HMS Bounty. Fact 42. Is there really a town where you're not allowed to die? Effectively, yes. In Longyearbyen, on the Arctic island of Svalbard, bodies don't fully decompose in the permafrost, which means the local cemetery stopped accepting new burials decades ago, over fears of preserving old diseases indefinitely in the frozen ground. Fact 43. In Whittier, Alaska, nearly the entire town's population lives inside a single building. Extreme weather and total isolation made it more practical decades ago to consolidate homes, the school, and basic services into one structure than to build a spread-out town. Fact 44. Off the coast of Japan, Hashima Island, nicknamed Gunkanjima or Battleship Island, was once one of the most densely populated places on Earth, crammed with coal miners and their families, apartment blocks stacked practically on top of each other. Then the mine closed. Within months, almost everyone left. Today, it's completely abandoned, a crumbling concrete ghost town surrounded by open ocean. Fact 45. Is there actually a piece of land on Earth that belongs to absolutely nobody? There is. Marie Byrd Land, a massive stretch of West Antarctica, remains unclaimed by any country. One of the only significant landmasses anywhere on the planet that no nation has ever formally laid claim to. Fact 46. Itokakorta-Ormite in eastern Greenland is one of the most isolated towns on Earth, reachable mainly by helicopter or a handful of ships each year, sitting at the mouth of the largest fjord system in the world. Fact 47. Tristan da Cunha is the most remote inhabited archipelago on Earth, roughly 2,800 kilometers from the nearest continent, home to only a few hundred people, and reachable only by a multi-day boat journey from South Africa. Fact 48. Devon Island, in Canada's Arctic, is the largest uninhabited island on Earth. So cold, barren, and geologically similar to Mars that NASA uses it to train and test equipment for actual Mars missions. Fact 49. Deep inside a mountain on a remote Arctic island, the Svalbard Global Seed Vault was built specifically to take advantage of natural permafrost, a facility designed to preserve seed samples from around the world for thousands of years, even without any outside power at all. Fact 50. So here's the real question this whole video has been building toward. With every satellite we launch and every map we refine, why does it still feel like there's nothing left to discover about our own planet? There isn't nothing left. Right now, there are stretches of ocean floor no human has ever seen, mountain ranges buried under ice that have never been touched, and places most of us will never even hear the names of. 99% of people go their whole lives without knowing any of this exists. Now you're the 1%. 50 facts. And this planet still has more hiding in it than any one video could cover. A river that boils. A lake that turns things to stone. Mountains nobody has ever actually seen with their own eyes. So what do you think is still out there, undiscovered on a planet we supposedly already mapped? If one of these genuinely surprised you, drop it in the comments. And if you're the kind of person who likes finding out the world is stranger than the map makes it look, stick around. There's more of this coming.